Hello chess fans! Today I want to show you a game I played around 2 months ago, and I actually managed to beat a GM, and so this is the longest time control I've ever beat a GM in, and I think it's a pretty instructive game, so I wanted to show you all it today. So my opponent played d4, here I played d6, and this is my favorite weapon for blitz because often I just take the GM out of theory, and they probably know a lot of theory. So he went for e4, which I was happy to see. I went for g6, knight f3, bishop g7, and already at this point I was kind of on my own because I don't really usually play the modern. I just kind of just wanted to play a random thing in blitz, and then I don't think I had noticed that my opponent was a GM at this point. So when I realized it was a GM, I thought, oh my god, I should have played some actual opening. But in the end, it ended up working. So my opponent played bishop c4, which is kind of tricky line. Here I played c6, and I sort of just wanted to get back into a Caro-Kann because that's something that I knew a little bit better. My opponent castled, and okay, here I went for d5. So we're back in something that I knew. And then my opponent plays bishop e3. And again, I'm just like, well, I really have no idea. I've never seen this position in my life. So especially when you're against a really strong player, sometimes you make mistakes when you get these positions you don't know. But here I kept my composure and I thought, okay, I have a bad piece. What's my worst piece? It's my bishop. So let's just get rid of this bishop. Here my opponent played h3, takes, and I played knight f6. I thought, okay, if he goes here, he kind of locks up the position because of the fact that, okay, his bishop's not really doing much. So he probably wants to take here, and then I didn't think I was that much worse. Now, here he played e5. And notice that here I was kind of scared. After knight fd7, I was really scared of this move e6. And this is kind of a common idea in these sorts of positions. Now, thankfully, it doesn't work here because after e takes, he has to protect this pawn. But for example, if he already had the move c3 in, it would be very, very dangerous with the rook coming to e1 and I can't even castle, queen g4. I would really not enjoy this position. So here my opponent played c4. And here, again, I really want to play this move e6. But I can't really do it, and it's a really hard move to play because of the fact that I don't really want to weaken this diagonal. I've already kind of put my bishop on g7. If I play e6, then the bishop could have also been open here. And already here, I'm in a losing position. So here I took, and here I played e6. And honestly, this is sort of a mistake that I don't think I would ever consider nowadays because of the fact that, okay, I see long-term ideas of a knight getting to d6. This position is just going to be terrible. So here my opponent played bishop b3. I was really confused at this move, but now I kind of understand is he kind of wants to get this knight to c4, not to mention that he didn't want to get hit by this tempo with knight b6. Here I castled. We saw rook e1, again improving. Again, I'm not really sure why knight c3 was not played immediately. Maybe he was worried about c5. And here probably I should play like queen b6 looking for c5 or queen c7 looking for c4 or anything basically to look for c5 because this is really my only plan. But instead, I kind of get greedy with this knight b6. I was thinking that, okay, I'll get knight d5, and then I'll go knight d7, and then I'll play c5, and then I might be okay. But yeah, that's not how it's going to work. My opponent plays the most accurate move, queen g4, and immediately he's threatening to play bishop g5 and kind of ruin my position. Already, I don't have the bishop pair. Now here I went knight e6 because I was like, oh, I can't really play knight d7. That kind of blocks my queen's attack on here. So now let's go for c5. So my opponent went for bishop g5 here. I went for queen d7 because I wanted to keep an eye on this pawn. And here my opponent went knight c3. And here I was really, really, really disappointed because I didn't really get at all what I want from the opening. Here I'm just much worse. I played an opening I don't know, and I was kind of regretting my position here. And also I was against a GM, so I was kind of getting nervous. So here I quickly played c5 because I thought, okay, I might as well get some moves quickly. My opponent played rook ad1, and here I played c4. Yeah, I didn't really like the move rook ad1. I thought that maybe a much more natural move would have been taking here and then playing rook ad1 because you want to open the positions with the bishops. And the engine seems to agree with me. It says that rook ad1 is a significant mistake. So c4, bishop c2, and I'm still losing though. This position is still around plus 1.5, but it was from like plus 2. So here I want to go for knight b4, attacking the bishop. We see bishop e1, and here I play this move h6. Now, it's not really the best move, but I really thought that after something like queen h4 and bishop f6, I think I was just dead lost. After he lifts the rook or something like that with rook e3 or knight comes to e4, I have to do something here and quickly. Otherwise, I'm just going to lose this game. So h6 here, and here I went for knight d5, simultaneously threatening the knight and the bishop. Knight e4, the most natural move, and yeah, here I didn't really have any idea what to do, so I just played rook ac8, just trying to threaten c3 in some positions to, you know, fork the pieces, and also threaten to make some threats of my own. Here we saw queen h4. Okay, so he's threatening some pawn here in some cases. I'm not sure what he's doing right now, but finally I'm able to get some counterplay, and here I think that I've sort of equalized the position. So if we go back a move, here instead of that, I think that a much better move would have been h4. Not to like judge my opponent, say that, okay, they missed this move. But this is simply what the engine recommends, and it says that there's some sort of play here with h5 coming. But instead my opponent plays queen h4, which might have been a little slow, because after c3 now, I think I've completely equalized the position. I'm sort of getting pieces off the board, which is what I need to happen. Because at the end of the day, this pawn is backwards. That was my idea. So after takes here, I took. We see it takes here, knight c5, my opponent cut the coordination. Here I went for queen d8, offering the queen trade, and obviously my opponent didn't really want to trade queens, but if they move their queen away, they lose the exchange. And then actually, if they take back, then they even lose their knight because they're pinned here. So they have to trade. So here I was very happy. I was like, okay, finally we traded pieces. The position is completely equal. I've managed to get outplayed in the opening completely because I didn't really know the opening I was playing. But now I've gotten a playable position against the GM. I was really happy with my position at this point. Not to mention that I didn't really lose that much time throughout this whole thing, as you can see by the timestamps. So my opponent played knight takes b7. He went for rook d7, attacking the knight, and I simply just wanted to get a tempo. I could have also gone for rook d5, but I was worried that somehow he would get a tempo with bishop e4 at some point. So here he went knight d6. Again, this is what I was dreading the whole time, but here it's just simplest. Get rid of that knight, and after takes here, takes here. There is no way I can lose this position. I'm simply slightly better here. He has this isolated pawn. He has this bishop versus this knight, but my knight is amazing here with the blockading squares with c4, a4, and d5. So here my position is very nice. I played rook d8. And from this point forward, I noticed that sometimes my opponent spends like 1 to 2 seconds or 1 to 3 seconds on pretty easy moves. So I thought, I'm just going to play instantly for a lot of the time and then try to see if I can flag my opponent, get an advantage. So here I took immediately. Here I played king f6 immediately. This is a move I probably want to play. Bishop e4. I mean, like I could have also considered this move rook c6 with the idea that, okay, I just take control of the c file, but again, that allows d5. So it's a good thing that I didn't really think about my moves much here. So bishop e4, here I played rook d8, simply allowing myself to go rook c8 in the case that he plays rook c1. Okay, so king d3, rook c8, yeah, I get rook c8 off finally, and now he's not threatening d5 because the rook no longer covers that, so there's no way he can simplify. Rook b1, and now we're finally equal on time from me being down on time, down on the position. Now the position is slightly better for me, and we're equal on time, so I was really, really confident here in my position. King e7, rook b4, and at this point, I knew that this game was not going to be a draw. Obviously, I think that black is clearly to be preferred here. The engine says around minus 0.4, which is quite reasonable. I would evaluate it as more for black, but then again, against a GM, most likely you won't win this position. So I knew that I really wanted to win because I wanted to beat a GM in this time format. And so the way I do this, I'm just going to play fast and I'm going to play solid moves. So king d6, we saw a4 threatening to go a5. Here I play knight d5, and this is sort of kind of where I was realizing that I played this kind of badly. So at this point, maybe I should play knight bd7 and after rook b7, play rook c7. It's hard to go passive like this, especially after something like this, king c4. And my pieces are all kind of badly placed. So my opponent has pretty much outplayed me from a position of strength. So instead I went knight d5, takes. And at this point I was like, okay, I wanted to win, but I might as well huddle up and get for the draw because the draw is not a bad result. I went king c7 because my opponent is threatening here after a6. We saw rook b5 attacking my d5 pawn. I have to defend it. a6 threatening rook b7. Here I have to go rook c7 because otherwise there's no way I could defend that. So here he played h4, again taking space. I played king c6, and of course my opponent wants to win this game. Now I'm down on time. I've probably been losing the whole game. They're probably a little bit tilted because they lost a lot of their advantage. But after rook c5, rook d6, here they really wanted to win. And I think they played this inaccurate move rook a5 because after rook c6 they're kind of tied down to this pawn now. After g4 I can go rook b6, and now I can push their king back even a little bit further. Rook a3, I played rook b4, and now I'm getting more active. So after f4, I played rook b6. I can't really do much here, though, so it probably should still be a draw. But after h5, g takes. They've pushed a little bit too much here, and at this point, I think that I am officially not winning, per se, but only black can win this position from a position where I was simply much worse. Rook a5, here I went rook d6. Notice that if he ever leaves control of this, I can take here, but I can't really make any progress. I can't bring my king in because then he could go rook c5, go here, and if I ever take this pawn, then he can take on d5. So it's hard to make progress here. Here my opponent went king e3. King of 5, and here I know my heart was beating really fast because I've never beat a GM in a longer time control, even though this is blitz. I've only ever beaten GMs in bullet and 3-0 blitz, so I was really, really getting nervous here because we had no time either. So king f3, I went f6. Yeah, f6 does nothing, and from this point you're going to see some very, very, very egregious blunders. So after rook c5, I took here, takes, king e6, rook d7 was played. And yes, you are seeing that right. A GM played rook d7 against me, and you will not believe what I played. I played rook a3 check, and after king e4, I can just take the rook. And you know what I did? I played rook a1. Yeah, so from a position of like minus 40, I blundered the whole game away. Even if I don't take this rook, for example, even if I go for like this move, rook a5, this is still winning. Not winning for black, but this is at least slightly better for black. But instead of that, okay, I don't even take the rook, but I do this instead, and here I think I'm losing. But my opponent, you know, probably shocked by the fact that I didn't take the rook. Here, they finally moved the rook after another 2 seconds, and I was able to flag them at this point. Even though in this position, I think I'm completely lost. So, yeah, a kind of messy game, but you know what? If you beat a GM, you have to take it. You can't just say that, oh, it was a messy game, it doesn't count, you flagged him. Because at the end of the day, I did get a terrible opening. And I was able to equalize from that opening by playing on the small quips of the position that I had, playing for any counterplay. So what I think this game pretty much illustrates is the fact that when you're in a bad position, don't really care how strong your opponent is, just go for counterplay. Try to get something to play for. I knew that when we were trading down more and more, I'm going to be better in the endgame. And yeah, I messed the endgame up. But against a lower rated player, let's say they were beating me that badly, I probably would have got to that endgame, they would have been demotivated, and I would have won. But the GM, you know, he kept his focus, he got a better position, but then he tried to push too much. So yeah, I think it was a pretty instructive game. And yeah, hope you guys enjoyed the video. I'll see you guys in the next one.